Good morning, sunshine! Welcome to my very first video here on YouTube, and I've finally done it. And I'm here hoping to add a little ray of sunshine into your lives. Hi, my name is Rose, and I'm new here on YouTube. I've actually been planning this for very few years now, but I've been procrastinating for about 7 years now, and I've had this idea lingering for years. And when I first thought of the idea, I got so excited that I even created a workbook and planned out my topics in advance. I was certain that this was for me and I had a lot to share, but of course, nothing happened because planning is easy, but execution is another thing, and it's difficult. I realized now that I was taking ridiculously long to get started. I just had so many fears. Fear of speaking, fear of being awkward, being judged. Then I would think, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough. What if no one watches me? What if I have no subscribers? And the list just went on and on. So I still have those fears today. I believe that many of us get really paralyzed just by being too self-conscious sometimes. So I finally found my courage and a remedy for this. So I decided to just embrace my flaws and just shine imperfectly. If you're here visiting for the first time and you want some company to hold your hand through this scary process, if you want to start a YouTube, so don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button, and we will do a challenge together coming soon. We'll do it fabulously, and cheer each other on in our journey, okay? Let's get started. How does one begin this journey? Well, if you're like me, you are probably ready to let this current year go and start fresh. You're probably anticipating the new year and maybe even with a little apprehension, wondering what the future holds for you. Like everyone in the world, we count down the minutes and maybe even jump up and down, excited to launch into the new year. And then there are many wondering what new direction to take and hoping that it will be a better year ahead. And then there are a few of us that are just desperately hoping to find clarity in the path we should take. Because if we don't have a clear direction, we may as well be like Alice in Wonderland when she asked the Cheshire cat, I think that's how you say it, Cheshire cat. She asked, would you please help me in a way I should go from here? I'm just paraphrasing. And he said, that depends on where you want to go, said the cat. Well, I don't care much where, said Alice. Then it doesn't really matter which way you go, said the cat. So it's that simple. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So, are we wondering which direction to go next? Do we have a clear idea, or are we just trying to feel our way through life? Do we just go where the wind takes us and be like a rabbit trapped in a rabbit hole, only to find ourselves stuck in the same place, feeling exhausted and lost again, sometimes even feeling like a failure? Perhaps, again, like Alice, the one important question we should ask ourselves is, who in the world am I? That's the great puzzle. The good thing is that the universal truth is that we are more important than we think we are. Each of us are made genetically unique, and we all have special gifts and talents endowed to us. And the greatest truth is that we are all created in an image of a powerful God, and we can tap into our own potential with His help. So there's no need to be in despair. We are meant to be exactly where we are sometimes in life. And if we don't like where we are, we can always change our destinations. Once again, we can learn from Alice these words of wisdom about personal growth. Said, it's no use going back to yesterday because I was a different person then. So if we've failed a few times, it's okay. It's all a part of our journey. It's time to course correct and time to stop denying ourselves of our true potential. Once again, in Alice's story, the Mad Hatter had his own idea of how precious our time here on Earth. He said, if you knew time as well as I do, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped wasting time because time is very precious, especially coming out of the COVID pandemic. I think we've all reflected on how life can be very, very fragile. Like the sakura tree, the Japanese culture recognizes the short-lived lifespan of the tree's flower. and as a symbol of the transience of human existence. So our time is so precious. We bloom and then we fade away. So back in 2018, I thought I finally found a place where someone like me can finally blossom like a sakura tree or any other flower. You see, I am not just any plain Jane. I am what most people call Jane of all trades and master of none. If there's anyone that can relate to being lost or stuck in a direction, it was me. I am what they called multi-passionate woman who can't focus on one thing. It was fun until I was made fun of. People say that I was all over the place. I was inconsistent. I can never finish anything. Thus, the name calling, Jane of all trades. When I'd meet people I haven't seen in a while, they would ask me, what's new and what are you up to now? And sometimes I didn't want to even go to these parties just to avoid people. If they only knew that those words really brought me to tears. And if they only knew that I was battling with self-doubt and even constant despair to settle on that one thing. If they could only hear my prayers and deep desire to just find that one thing and be normal just like everybody else. One September day in 2018, a friend of mine invited me to this playground nearby. And I've always wanted to know what it looked like inside this particular playground. And I even remember passing by a few times and thinking that one of these days I may go in there and offer to do party decorations, events, or even some fun projects or talents for kids or something. I often had the knack of going into businesses and creating business connections. Little did I know that the day I walked into that playground was the day I found my fun place. The fun and childish side of me was excited to play. There was something about the playground that made me feel sad though. It was empty and it started to look dated and tired. In fact, it was a bit dark and needed some TLC. I started to transform it in my mind and imagine the potential it could become. And I felt big change and make it fun and full of amazing activities. So I presented the idea to the owner and within days we connected. I learned that she was just on the verge of splitting with her business partner. So we both met a few times, planned together, and eventually we formed a partnership rebranding the whole place. So my mind went into an endless loop of fun ideas as usual. I was happy creating a garden of imaginations. I was now becoming the playing Jane that I had hoped to be, and in my own wonderland, like Alice in Wonderland. And in just a few months, with my magic wand, we had transformed the place into something magical with all my experiences and creativity. And the once sad-looking playground was now a happy indoor play garden, retreat, not just for kids, but made it specially for moms. It has become warm and inviting that people can feel a different atmosphere that they've never really felt. That's because I sprinkle a ray of sunshine and a lot of love into what I do. And I really wanted to serve the moms. And that's because I was once in their shoes and know their specific needs. They need to feel special and celebrated for their hard roles. Most of all, they need support. So my gifts and talents to be creative were fulfilled in this playground. I may have worked more than 12 hours a day and I didn't even feel it because it felt like play. Who knew that my dreams and aspirations were going to be realized in that one place? The cherry blossoms indoors served as the foundation and mission of the business, that life is short and fragile and we should make things beautiful and play. And my interior decorating came into play, the party and event planning came useful. I've also wanted a small cafe. My Zumba classes inspired a fitness studio. My production for young talents in the past brought in kids classes, workshops for moms and kids, pretty parties, Latin dance classes, and the list went on because I had done them all in the past. But most of all, my dream of owning a business was being realized, and I was able to create new packages and miraculously bring up even the profit margin even after the lockdown during the COVID pandemic. Our Google review rating went up the roof, and it was amazing, and it was bringing a lot of traffic in. And I learned that I loved marketing, especially in the digital arena and social media marketing. And the business started to thrive. And the playground became Instagrammable for our city. And I was happy because I finally found my play garden, where Jane of all trades became playing Jane. until we kept shutting down due to COVID restrictions, and it's different for every city. But during that time, I had the time to reflect, and something in my heart felt wrong. Once again, I was back in square one. I had always felt like I was forcing myself into the place. I would have trouble detaching. I made it so beautiful and magical that it was so hard to leave. But I knew deep down that I was meant to be somewhere else. The feeling was so strong that I had to pry myself from this new obsession. I had even dreamed that I was seeking for treasure in the wrong place. And it took a lot out of me to let it go, because for once I felt like I was somebody special and I had finally found a home for all my talents. And they say that, to follow your heart, but it's not always wise because it can easily deceive us. The heart wants what the heart wants, right? And we may think we know what's good for us, but God knows what's better and best for us. And this was no longer my own desires. It was my purpose and my calling. It was deeply embedded in my heart's memory. And if I didn't follow it, I would have probably regretted it for the rest of my life. And I needed to let go of the good and let God show me the better. I believe that He doesn't want us to miss out on our full potential. And yes, my human side took months of battling my pride and ego. And I know that I created a beautiful space. And although people thought I was crazy for leaving, it was time to finally let it go, to fulfill this one thing. So I went back where my true treasure resides. And it was always in my home. So I went back home. And now here I am.